Oh, what's going on? Just doing a quick update here on my player controller. Um, sure I can see yep, I can see what's going on. So right now, how I have it organized is I'm doing each piece as its own project. I work in a scene itself. So here's my asset hierarchy, and these are all folders I made. All animations that I want are all within here. All controllers to be able to control my animator within, or that's attached to my player character right here. Here's my animator. And then in order to control it, you got to have what's called a controller. What does a controller do, you ask? Well, it takes all those nifty animations that you have and it places them. You'll put them kind of like this, like these nodes. You make transitions. What do these transitions do? Well, so you start out entry, the game starts, or the scene starts, or whatever, the object starts. And this is your default animation, which is my idle animation. And then let's say I push the W key down, or I push down on the up arrow, or if I'm using a controller, I push up on the rotator knobs. You know those things, the thumb knobs. Well, so what would happen is it's going to trigger an event. The event would be is attacking, or no, I'm sorry, this would be up or walking. I would do over here, running in place. I would make my dude turn on this variable called isRunning to true, and I would turn the idle variable to false. It will play the animation, and then once again it will go back and remain in neutral once it's finished with its cycle. And this is, by the way, there's a couple ways you can do this. You could either push down W or the up area or whatever, and you can have this play the full animation. There's like an actual full-blown animation, and it'll just play one cycle. Or you can turn on this. You could turn off the has exit time, and it'll just go straight into it. It'll just ignore the entire animation cycle. Whereas if you don't have it unchecked, if you don't have this unchecked, and you actually do check the has exit time, you have to first go through this whole animation cycle before it can go to the next animation. Kind of see what I'm saying? So you're sitting there, blah, 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 push the W key down, and it has to go through its entire cycle. Then it can move to running in place. Otherwise, the way I have it, where it's unclicked, I can just be standing there and I'll push W down, and then immediately it just goes over here. No wait. There's one strange oddity, and it's all the same with this stuff. If I'm rotating, this is why I have sword idle. If I'm rotating, I want a different type of idle, and then I have my back button. So I'll just show you what I'm doing first. So here's my dude. If you notice, I'm in sword and shield idle. This is for my rotation. I'm in idle right now, but I'm going to demonstrate what I'm talking about with the running in place. And this is actually demonstrating it too. But see how there's a full animation cycle? If I just check this here, you're going to notice I have to wait for this whole animation cycle. But if you notice, I did do a turn, and then if I just stayed like that, boom, back to it. There's ways that you can trick it, but obviously we don't want this. It's not good. So that's kind of what's going on with at least the animation controller. That's what it does. That's how the animations are being triggered. Um, so you're probably asking, well, how does that happen? You're sitting along here and you're playing a game. You push W down, and I mean, how does this know what to do? First and foremost, you have to set up little local variables for the animator. The animator has its own variables. And you set them up, so parameters, you have your layer, which I just use a base layer. Um, and then you go ahead and you could select the type of variable you want. And then that variable, it'll have, like if I do float, I can make it, and eventually I will do this, to where it'll start out jogging and then it'll eventually go to running. You do this with velocity. After so long, you want to build velocity. Well, the velocity will be data bound directly to this variable. And then when it gets to 2.0, it'll switch from jogging in place to running in place. So that's kind of what that does. Um, anyway, so in order to access all this stuff, you have to be able to, that's my attacking. You have to be able to set it inside a code behind. So this is I call it terrestrial movement because I'm just walking. I'm doing a basic walking on the ground type stuff. You'll notice I don't have any jump just yet, but currently what I'm doing is I have a forward, a backwards, a left, and a right, and I also have this special instance of the mouse down, where I can actually show the sword slash in terrestrial mode. So rather than just being able to see an attack in attack mode, I can now just kind of do this. I don't know if I want that. I'm kind of debating whether I want live action attacking. So and the whole reason I would do that is because I could this is my enemy cube, right? It's just a test cube. Because everything's modular. The only thing I want to be able to export from this project is the player character itself. But anyway, I digress. Going back, this is the enemy. It has a label on it. The actual enemy cube has a label on it, a tag called enemy. And on collision, if I run into this, it's going to check, hey, did you run into something with the tag enemy? If you did, it's going to go ahead and trigger something else. So what just happened there is on collision enter, the tag equals enemy. Don't worry about that. It's just debug rules. I'm going to go ahead and set my runtime animator controller. What that means is the background controller on my animator, right here, it went from, and I'll show you in demonstration, see how right now it's on player. I go over here, chink, it switches to player attacks. So now I'm on a whole different animator. Remember that animator you just saw back there? This one? Well, you run into it, and I just switched the animator out to keep this stuff clean. This is a whole new thing I just learned how to do. I was like, why can't I switch animators out? Well, you can. They have its own set of variables. So now, why do I want to do this? Is because I'm going to be in an attack sequence. I say I'm going to have an enemy, and obviously there's going to be more rules going on, but this is the basics. I can have, and I have it right now. I have this script which controls the attack sequence here, right here. As you can see here, I link up everything. I put up the player movement script, the player attack script, right? This movement script, this attack script are linked to this dude. But not only that, but I link it to the script itself so I can actually mess with the script. I can turn scripts on and off. Notice the button here. Watch. Notice the button. I'm going to go ahead and hit the escape key because I have it rigged to where if I hit the escape, it's going to switch from attack mode to terrestrial mode. Watch the change. And you can even watch the animator, but we already saw that, but just watch the change. Tink. I'm back onto this script. This script turned off. This one turned on. So, as you can kind of see, there's a really nice nifty trick to using the Blender, or the Unity, or the Unity framework, and using their APIs to be able to switch between animator controllers. And it cleans your stuff up, so you don't have to have a million knobs and nodes everywhere. And speaking of Blender, when I started out with Blender, I was originally trying to code everything in logic nodes, kind of like this. See how like everything's a node? And basically these nodes it's basically programming with a GUI. I would be able to do all of this stuff that I program myself now. But now I would be able to have all these nice little parameters in Blender that I would just fill out myself. But now I code this stuff within Unity, so it's more flexible. I can do more things. And I've been doing Unity stuff now for like probably 2.5, 3 years now. By no means an expert, But it's always fun when you actually learn a new trick. It just really is exciting because you have a new tool that you can use. Like now, I'm going to have sequences where when I run into a character, if a character runs into me, I'll obviously set up the map into a whole different area. But I can do, I'll actually have my attack sequence. I can use things, new attacks, like go ahead and use your heal, bing. Go ahead and do the big spell, your Super Saiyan power spell that's going to blow their head off. Boom! Just like that, and attach some particles to it. Before you know it, you're having a really awesome game that you used to play when you were a kid. You're making it. And right now, I'm doing enterprise, real industry coding for my job, right? I'm actually doing real coding in C Sharp. And I'm going to tell you one thing, that type of coding is way harder than this. This type of coding is very simple and very user friendly. It's very intuitive. Sure, there's some things in C Sharp you're going to want to learn eventually. You're going to want to know what this stuff means. Like, what the heck is a collection? What's a generic? Right? You're, hell, you might even be at the spot where you're like, what's a namespace? You know? It's okay. Just keep playing with stuff. You don't even have to be very good at programming in order to play with Unity. But the main thing, the main pull away you should have from this is um, this should be a great tool to help you with programming. If it wasn't for Unity, I wouldn't be so far into C Sharp that I was by the time I got out of school. I mean, now I can actually really use C Sharp. Before it was kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, I know a little bit. I'd go into WPF and do the drag and drop tools, whereas before, or now I'm actually using XAML. So it's pretty exciting. I mean, it may not seem like much, but to actually get everything rigged up, going with all my own stuff, besides the animations, I'm using Mixamo, Adobe. This is their own stuff, but obviously I'm not a 3D designer. I'm not making money off this. Maybe eventually, if I wanted to, it would be very easy to trade out models and animations. Literally, it's just trading out the model and the animations. I don't have to. All my stuff is coded, so it's not relying on what the exact animation is or what the exact model is. I just got to do a drag and drop back in. That's all it is. Right now, I have a pre-built character, but I have all the components to rebuild this character with a whole um, different type of model. You know, the last thing I wanted to kind of show, going back through, was just how I organize things. My version one, obviously, the dependencies, they're not all going to be there, but if I tried to run this, it wouldn't be able to run because there's a lot of things that aren't assigned that I need. For example, this attack sequence. I could attach it to it, but then it's kind of losing the point of the version. I'm never going to use that version again. Maybe I will, but it's just nice to know tracking all the stuff I've made, trying to be as modular as possible. Making your stuff very clean is very important. I know as a new developer, if you're very brand new, it's very tempting to just jump in and start throwing shit around. But and if you're just playing around, sure, why not? But when you're actually trying to make a goal, like just my goal today was to be able to finish the very basics of a player controller, so I can at least throw it into a level, move it around, and start working on maybe an enemy, and make those enemies extremely modular, so then I could use all their components. And so that when I'm not making code that's basically just trash code it's being mocked throughout the whole project. I want reusable code. Um, you'll get there. You'll get to that point where you say I want the resize or I want the reusable code. Um, but maybe it's not a priority right now. Maybe you just would like to see. Maybe you would just like this to happen, just to be able to have a player walk and to have an animation. How I do it? You want to see what my folders look like? What I always do, it's it's pathetic actually. Look at all this stuff. I mean, some of it's just BS. Like I'm really trying to get more organized. This is my projects, but here's my mechanics folder. This is my current project player, and it's my very first one. But you have little things I mess around with third person controller, first person. I'm trying different things during different times, and I'll just keep messing with them. The one obviously I've been working on since I I was really playing around with this third person. I'm like, what if I do something that's like kind of EverQuest-y, but also kind of like Chrono Trigger, where rather than having that actual real time, you're like sitting there and you can click, which I'm going to have that interface. All of that's going to be built modular, and I'll show you as I get done. I'm not doing as much streaming right now because a lot of this is research, and I'm building components to make it uh, so I can just start going in and building levels and all that. But I'm just trying to build at least the basics. Like right now, it's a fixed camera. I want to be able to right click and drag it around and be able to do, move it around like a normal camera. That's very easy to do in Unity. The APIs make it so easy. That's obviously a bug. See how he just stands in place. And the reason how you fix that, and the reason why I haven't fixed it yet, first and foremost, I don't think I'm going to have this anymore. I'm not going to actually have an attack. I really don't think it's necessary. I think having separate things like a modular, uh, overworld, and then you have a fighting world where you're actually in an area and it changes the environment, and you have environment uh, variables that can be affected. It's very hard to do that in an open world game right now. I mean, it's very much possible. You just got to paint terrain areas with a certain flag that says, "Hey, this is heavy terrain," or "This is light terrain," or "This is water." It's very easy to do that, but I'm small scale, man. I'm just doing this stuff on my own. Um, so anyway, that's the update on it. Just being able to build a simple player character controller, as well as just having your basic character. I mean, this is all modular. Remember that. Keep that in mind. Build your stuff so you can attach it to other things. Even this is slightly. I mean, the best type of thing you could have is something that doesn't require all these dependencies, where they just will automatically grab everything. Kind of like, honestly, it's not the best, but the capsule collider. The only thing you have to worry about, and it's not even a dependency, is this material collision. Like, I don't need a material on it. If I want to make a material, I could. I can make like ice or something for this. And why don't I show you that while I'm talking? Like, you're gonna want to be able to make your stuff very modular so you could continuously build it, pull from things. You'd be like, oh, I have that in a different folder, materials. So I build a materials folder, and I could just do something like build a new material. Oh wait, I don't. Is that what I? Hold on. I'm stoned, so give me a second. There we go. By the way, if you're curious, I'm listening to Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush, the Juggernaut album. One of my favorite albums by Mahogany Rush. I'm looking at my phone. Yeah. All right. Anyway, so let's just call this one Ice. Very basic. I'm gonna put it on this so you can kind of see the difference. Well, what ends up happening, what I can do is I can take this ice. Oh gosh, I can take this ice. I'm gonna take the. I'm just gonna take everything and put it at 0. This is how I just experiment. All right, so I put it in there. Watch this. Huh, interesting. Did it did it matter? Oh wait, hold on. No, it's there. That's interesting. Why isn't it Rhythm is the key. Sorry. matrix and go not the maximum average. Just do everything average. I wonder if it has to do with just see, this is why I tell you I'm not a master at all at this. I'm figuring it all out as I go. I mean, it takes a long time to be a good developer for video games. I'm not good. That's what's messed up about this. I'm not good. I'm just like, it doesn't seem like it's really. I don't know. I think I'm missing something. I don't know. I can always drag it onto the actual component itself and see what happens. There, yeah, there we go. Now I don't know if it's kind of fun though. I mean, it's like a big ice cube, but it's not affecting my dude, which kind of sucks. So what can you do with something like this? Well, if you want to simulate, obviously ice, pushing something, you know, I can make it so that it's not so damn crazy, right? Like I can just keep playing with it, playing with it. That way, say I'm like in Legend of Zelda, and I'm like, I need to push this. You can push it, and it makes it a little bit easier to push. Or it could be in an ice setting, go down, and you just pop, turn it off, and it's going forever because an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. But the problem, I see, I had the sword rigged up so that what do you call this? Even stupid stuff like this, just call this test unit. Even being specific, I mean I know it's stupid, but we call this is it should be test unit enemy. So I mean, so you have see that's one thing I wish Unity would fix. When you lose focus with the mouse versus just with the tab key or enter, it'll just ignore it and just completely just ignore it and leave it alone. By the way, that's the type of job that I do. Somebody like this says, "Oh, I wish when I change this name, why is it that whenever I click away, the name doesn't change with it too?" Well, at my job, I'm the dude that would have to go into the actual application, find the source code where that's happening at, and change it. AKA, I'm maintenance. So what's nice is I can move up. I'm new, so this is a great experience because I'm getting to see our one product at least in a very broad sense. I can see everything that's going on, where other people are kind of stuck in their own world. It would be the equivalent of, hey, you're in charge of the player control. You're on the player controller team. Nah, you know what I mean. It's like it's kind of cool just to be able to play around with everything, even though I didn't build it. But anyway, that's my stream. I hope you guys got something out of it, and just an update on what I'm doing at least with this. Um, and I will see you guys soon.